Hello and welcome to the People of Purpose talk show. I'm Michelle Benjamin, and today I'm discussing the early warning signs of childhood cancer with two prominent executives from CHOC, the Childhood Cancer Foundation of South Africa. Lynette Badere is the regional manager of CHOC for the Western Cape and Namakwa regions. Lynette is joining us from the beautiful city of Cape Town, and Audrey Ludick is joining us from the lovely city of Johannesburg. Audrey is the Program Development Manager at CHOC. Ladies, welcome to the show this evening. I salute you both for joining me on this broadcast tonight, regardless of the load shedding challenges. You're both angels of mercy on the job, and also for how you made yourselves available tonight. Thank you from my heart. So,
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and good evening to your viewers.
welcome to both of you again. So, Audrey, I've been doing a little bit of snooping on your LinkedIn profile.
Wow.
So, this is what I came up with. I actually love what you said about yourself. I think it's very succinct and very telling of who you are, because I did a little bit more research regarding your work life. And this very small statement, I may say, of yourself told me a lot of who you are as a human being. And therefore, I understand why you do what you do regarding childhood cancer and how you are impacting in your field at this time in the world. So, so this is what you had to say, Audrey. I believe that every person's human rights need to be respected. I hate to see suffering, and my humanitarian heart always wants to make a difference, whether in my workplace or in my personal life. I have been blessed with a kind husband, family, and friends, and I will continue to do my bit to bring peace, love, and prosperity to mankind. That is just marvelous. I loved what I read, and well, as the evening progresses, I'm sure that's going to come out as you describe your work and what you do at CHOC, and just how you're changing the world by working at CHOC. So, Audrey, that's beautiful. And well, Lynette, I had a peek at your LinkedIn, and you didn't have a description of yourself. So therefore, I said, no, let me write something up based on what I know of you, because we've met, and I was very blessed to be a guest at three chalk houses in Cape Town earlier this year. So Lynette, you and your colleague Khadija were my hosts for the day. And I have to say, it was one of the most meaningful and touching experiences of my life. What I saw and heard changed my life forever regarding childhood cancer. Lynette's passion, dedication, and love for the children and parents certainly put everything into perspective for me. I also found out that Lynette is married to a wonderful husband and they have a lovely daughter. So, Lynette, I think that in a nutshell describes you to our viewers tonight. And aside from the actual job description, right? It's just a description of you both as human beings first. It's who you are, right? For the benefit of our viewers who have never heard of CHOC, can you give a brief description of this noble charity, which has been at the forefront in the fight against childhood cancer for a number of years in South Africa?
CHOC was established in 1979 by parents whose children were diagnosed with cancer. And at that time, you can imagine our hospitals did not have a lot of comprehensive support services for parents of children diagnosed with cancer. So out of this great need, CHOC started as parent support groups, and then we expanded to many of the pediatric oncology units around the country. And since then, we've grown into a national organization operating in 6 provinces around the country, and CHOC has become the most comprehensive childhood cancer organization, not only in South Africa, but in Africa. And some of the services that we render to parents makes a huge difference when a parent finds out that their child is diagnosed with cancer and this burdensome illness, and it relieves them of the stress and the anxiety that they are faced with when their children are diagnosed with cancer. So some of the services that CHOC renders consist out of our home away from home accommodation for parents who resides 50 kilometers and further away from the treatment centers. CHOC has nationwide, we have 10 CHOC houses and 2 lodges that all provide free accommodation to the parent and the child during this long duration of their treatment. And the nice thing is that parents do not have to pay for the accommodation. It's completely free. And that, therefore, becomes a home away from home for the parents. So we're very, very proud of our CHOC houses. CHOC also provides, very importantly, nutritional support, because nutrition provides or plays a crucial role when a child is on intense treatment during this journey. So our nutritional support consists, or practical support consists out of nutrition, such as nutritional assistance, such as food hampers, food vouchers, which is supplied to our mothers. Our other practical support programs consist out of care bags. When a child is newly diagnosed, sometimes the family isn't prepared for a long stay in the ward. So every newly diagnosed child in every pediatric oncology ward around the country, and even in some private hospitals, receives CHOC care bags from CHOC. And it's filled with all sorts of goodies like toiletries, a parent handbook, our Chemo and Thandi range of booklets, which educates not only the child, but also the parent on the different phases of this journey that they might find themselves on. And our practical support is so crucial, as it makes the journey a little bit easier for the parent. We also provide, other than the nutritional support and the toiletries, we also assist the parent with a transport fund. As you know, when a mother struggles, or many parents, we struggle financially to not only sustain their homes, but we have so many families that in this economy, and even after the coronavirus, struggles to sustain their households. The cost of living has just increased, and therefore many parents struggle to have access to the treatment centers because they do not have that basic income that will assist them to access the treatment centers. In many cases, the main breadwinner or the mother or the father needs to resign from work, from full-time employment, to be with their child at the hospital for a long period of time. So our transport fund has a very big success rate. And across the country, the transport fund is disbursed by our social workers. And that enables the parents who are outpatients to have easier access to the hospitals and to access their children's appointment through being able to take a bus or a taxi or a train to access the hospitals. And that has had a very huge success rate. In the finance year 2021 to 2022, CHOC disbursed 843,000 Rand nationally in one finance year to beneficiaries who needed to have access to the treatment centers through the transport fund. So we're very, very excited about that, and it has a very big success rate in helping parents to access the treatment. CHOC also has a psychosocial support team, and I know we will talk about the psychosocial support team a bit later. It's where we employ our own social workers. CHOC has 13 social workers that we employ, and they are placed in the pediatric oncology wards around the country to assist with preparing for treatment. They assist with counseling. They assist with preparing both the parent and the child with treatment, and importantly, helping with the practical needs that the parents many times struggle with in order to access the treatment. And then lastly, and very importantly, other than the advocacy and our patient, parent, and family support, which we also render, CHOC also provides awareness raising. In South Africa, the survival rate is only at 55%, while in developed countries, the survival rate is between 70 to 80%. So we still have a lot of work to do to educate the public on the early warning signs of childhood cancer. So CHOC has a comprehensive awareness training and education program that is actually managed by Adri's department. And in this awareness training and education program, we recruit from your community trainers to retired nurses to messengers who uses various toolkits in targeting certain parts of our community. from traditional leaders and traditional healers to registered nurses, to student nurses, to ECD teachers, high school teachers, primary school teachers, as well as normal members of the public through messaging. We educate them on the early warning signs so that so that this can result in us getting kids to be diagnosed sooner. And Adri can share more on the statistics of how many people we've reached, but we've had a huge success rate in our awareness training and education program because early detection is key. Lastly, and I know CHOC has a mouthful of services it renders. If I may quickly, briefly share with you about our patient, parent, and family support. CHOC cannot do its work. We cannot do our work without our valuable volunteers. And CHOC has got crucial volunteers. We have interactive play volunteers, we have ward volunteers, we have house volunteers, and all of them are trained by CHOC. And they then fulfill a role not only in our CHOC houses, but also in the hospitals, in the pediatric oncology wards, where they do interactive play with our children. They do refreshment mornings. They relieve the parents who sit at the bedside of the child for many days, weeks on end without getting a break. And they provide what is important is emotional support to the parents, while the interactive play volunteers help with the cognitive learning of the children, because as you know, many times they miss out so many months of schooling. And our volunteers, yeah, they play a crucial role in CHOC. So that is everything we do. CHOC really does a lot of work and services.
Lynette, that is, as you said, a lot for one organization to be doing, I should say, in one lifetime. That's a lot. And that you're saving so many lives, I just think it's remarkable. So, as the regional manager for the Western Cape and the Namakwa regions, what does your position in the organization actually entail?
My role is to ensure that our region um, provides the services and the programs that we need to provide to both the academic hospitals and the private hospitals that we partner with. It's to ensure that our programs reaches our target group in the Western Cape, and to make sure that our staff, and we have an amazing staff complement who are very hardworking, that they obviously do what is expected of them to do, but to raise awareness of the importance of childhood cancer in our province and in our communities, and also to make sure that our partnerships with our pediatric oncology wards is healthy and is taken care of, and with our stakeholders, because we not only work with the pediatric oncology wards, we work with various alliances and networks, such as our childhood cancer network, our cancer alliances, and those partnerships are very important to CHOC because we cannot do it on our own. And so my role is to make sure that all of those services and partnerships and programs come together and that it runs like a well-oiled machine. But obviously, fundraising and sustainability plays an important role. So my role is also to assist with all the fundraising and the resource acquisition that is needed in order to sustain our work here in the Western Cape.
Thank you very much, Lynette. That was beautiful, and I'm just overwhelmed at how much you all do. And well, I'm wondering how you even make time for your personal lives because this is very consuming work. And well, well done to you. Well done to all of you. So,
Thank you.
Audrey, your position as the National Program Development Manager, what exactly is your role at CHOC?
It's very difficult to describe my role because it is very overarching. But CHOC is more than 43 years old, as Lynette has said, and was started by parents whose lives were impacted by cancer and life-threatening blood disorders. So in the early years, I found the members who traveled to countries who had established parent support groups and accommodation facilities. And we've learned a lot from the members from Childhood Cancer International on best practices and how to implement our learnings And then we implemented our learnings to support our beneficiaries. In 2000, we became a national body. And ever since, we've been growing our programs of support to support our beneficiaries. It is important for us to understand where our parents come from and what their needs are. We also work very closely with international bodies to understand the new trends globally, so that we are able to support our beneficiaries to the best of our ability. There was a research that was done a few years ago that even in less resourced countries, but where there are comprehensive services, the survival rate of childhood cancer have increased in that countries. So our aim is to ensure that our parents and our families understand their cancer journey and that they are educated to make informed decisions about their rights regarding the treatment. And we also need to ensure that they are well cared for and that they won't abandon treatment due to a lack of resources. So CHOC at this stage is also the anchor organization for Childhood Cancer International in Africa. And we now pay it forward because we've learned from international organizations. We've grown, and now we pay it forward to our sister organizations in Africa through capacity building, through knowledge, and through information sharing. So I've been involved with CHOC since 1997. I was a volunteer. I was a regional manager. Now I am at our national office developing new programs. And I believe that my experience, with my experience and the knowledge that I've gained through the years, I can give back to make an impact on the lives of the CHOC family and this organization that I love so dearly.
Thank you, Audrey. That was beautifully answered. And the next question was going to be, and how are you impacting the fight against childhood cancer? And you actually just answered that question. So thank you for that. Lynette, you have mentioned earlier the psychosocial support system in place when dealing with children, families, and communities. So, how does the support benefit the people involved when dealing with trauma that results from a cancer diagnosis of a child?
When a child, as you know, when a child is diagnosed with cancer and treated in the public sector, his or her first contact point, other than the pediatric oncologist, is the pediatric oncology social worker. And we are very, very proud that over the years that CHOC has been able to successfully negotiate and receive the go-ahead from the Department of Health to place employed social workers into the pediatric oncology wards around the country. Because as you know, counseling and the trauma is, the need for counseling is huge because of the trauma that is associated with the cancer illness and the cancer journey. So the psychosocial support team that consists out of 13 social workers currently in the pediatric oncology wards, our team, once the diagnosis is confirmed, that social worker plays such an important role to explain this treatment journey to the mother and the child. And as you know, social workers uses child-friendly methods to explain this journey, an unknown journey, to the parent. It is also to do all of the psychosocial needs analysis that the family is faced with, to assess the circumstances of the family and what kind of support do they need while on treatment, whether it be through CHOC or other organizations that are rendering support in the ward. That social worker then does that psychosocial needs assessment. The social worker also does bereavement counseling if it leads to the child losing the journey, unfortunately, and also networks and connects the mommy, the bereaved mommy, with support services back in her community. If the child, for instance, needs other special care, the social worker is there throughout the whole journey, from the diagnosis to the disbursement of certain services, to at the end if bereavement counseling is needed. So they play a very, very important role on this journey of childhood cancer. And we're very proud to have a good team that are working very hard in supporting our parents.
Thank you, Lynette. That was beautiful. And what an important aspect of the work that you are all doing. I think it's amazing, and just the systems you have in place, it's just phenomenal. Thank you. So, Audrey, how would you describe childhood cancer?
I always think the worst message that any parent can get is that your child has cancer. So childhood cancer is different from adult cancers. Adult cancers are usually slow growing, while childhood cancer is very fast growing and are usually in the developing cells. Cancer is when a cell gets a wrong message and then start to grow out of control. And if this cell is not stopped, it will spread to other parts of the body and it can cause the death of a child. These cells then start to stop to work properly, and they form a tumor or a lump. The name of cancer is usually at the place of the origin where the cancer starts. So if the cancer starts in the blood, we call it blood cancer or leukemia. If it starts in the bones, we call it Ewing sarcoma, bone cancer, Ewing sarcoma, or osteosarcoma, and so on. So childhood cancer is a rare disease. Internationally, 150 per million children under the age of 16 will get cancer. Where in South Africa, we diagnose around 1 in 500 to 1 in 600 children, which equates to around 1 in 408 children under the age of 16. The survival rate in South Africa is around 55% and on the rise. So we have a lot of work to do to make people aware of childhood cancer in South Africa.
Thank you, Audrey. That was beautifully explained. And so I have to ask you whether there are obstacles that doctors and caregivers and also CHOC faces when dealing with early diagnosis of childhood cancer in South Africa.
Unfortunately, there are many obstacles. There are also opportunities, but I'm going to start with the obstacles. So childhood cancer sometimes go undiagnosed and untreated due to a lack of knowledge of the early warning signs of childhood cancer. You cannot screen childhood cancer like you can screen adults for cancer. We need to know about the early warning signs of childhood cancer. Unfortunately, there are also a lack of treatment centers in South Africa. The specialized treatment centers are usually linked to the tertiary hospitals that are linked to the government hospitals and that are linked to the universities, which are mostly in the metropolises. And people have to sometimes travel huge distances to get to these specialized treatment centers because adult oncology cannot treat childhood cancer. And there's only about 13 specialized treatment centers in the government hospitals and then a few in private practices. So in our Department of Health, there are referral pathways that people need to follow when a child is diagnosed with an illness. For example, when a child in a rural area gets sick, the mother will take the child to the primary healthcare clinic. Then the child might come with a swollen tummy. The nurse will think, well, maybe it's constipation or worms or whatever, give medication, the child go back home. After 2-3 weeks, the child comes back, the tummy is still swollen. So it's a back and front process. Then the next step will be the community health center. then it will be the district hospital. Then the referral will go to the provincial hospital. And only then, if that child is lucky, the child will get to the tertiary hospital or the regional hospital where the specialized treatment center is. Sometimes it takes up to 2 years for a child from the lowest level where the child, the entry level in the Department of Health, to where they get to a specialized treatment center. And of course, by that time, as I've said, childhood cancer is fast growing. It is too late for those children to get help or to survive the disease. One of the other problems that we face is the myths and beliefs around childhood cancer. A lot of people believe that children don't get cancer, and we'll unpack that a bit later. People believe that Black children don't get cancer, and we know that 95% of our beneficiaries at CHOC is Black children, because we work according to the distribution of our country. People believe that children don't survive childhood cancer. And that's not true, because I've given the statistics of 55% and on the rise of childhood cancer. Some people also believe that childhood cancer is a curse. Maybe they haven't followed rituals. Maybe they haven't baptized their child, or maybe they haven't done a cleansing ritual, or maybe they didn't circumcise their child. So they feel it is a curse on the fact that now the child is sick. And then they feel they don't have a right to treatment or to help. Unfortunately, also in our society, even in our, not only in our rural areas, but also in our urban areas, we sometimes find that once a child has been in the cancer treatment, the teachers and the community feel that they are contagious, or they bring bad spirits into the community, so they're not welcome. So there's a lot of myths that we need to destigmatize so that the children can really live a fulfilled life. However, although there are many hindrances to early diagnosis and treatment, childhood cancer can be cured if detected early and if treated in a pediatric oncology unit by a pediatric oncologist, which is a specialist treatment center. South Africa used tried and tested protocols. And during the past few years, there's been huge improvements in new treatments, in radiation modalities, and in surgical techniques, as well as in the improvement of supportive care, allowing for more intensive therapies. For example, your ports, your Hickman lines, better ICUs, blood products, and improved antibiotics. So there is hope. There is help if only people knew where to get help and how to get help. And that is our role. That is what we need to do.
That's marvelous, Audrey. I'm touched and I'm impressed at the work that goes into it. So, how is CHOC engaging with communities to destigmatize and change attitudes surrounding myths and beliefs regarding childhood cancer? What programs do you have in place?
Okay, so since 2010, we have been training healthcare professionals, healthcare workers, traditional health practitioners on the early warning signs of childhood cancer. We work very closely with the National Department of Health. We work with NGOs. We work with traditional health practitioner organizations. And we believe that if we give people knowledge, the correct knowledge, that will change their attitudes towards the disease. When their attitudes are changed, their practices will change towards the disease. So if we take the message of hope to the communities, they will, and they have the correct knowledge, they will spread it and it will be a substantial and a well scientifically message that they take to the communities. Communities need to start to support our families. We can't push them away. So many families have been pushed out of communities because the child has cancer. We can't allow that anymore. So we spread the news through awareness days. For example, on the health calendar, we have the International Cancer Day on the 15th of International Childhood Cancer Day on the 15th of February every year. That is celebrated globally. We have awareness that we raise through our flip-flop day, which is on the 17th of February, where we say to people, wear your flip-flops to work, wear your heart on your soul, and then make people aware of childhood cancer. September month, for example, is where we say, wear a golden ribbon and make people aware of childhood cancer. So if you wear a golden ribbon, people will say, what is that for? And that opens the door for us to take the message. Talks like we do tonight, that is very important, because we take the message of early detection and the fact that early detection saves lives. We take that to the communities. And we also want to invite communities to ask CHOC and invite CHOC to their wellness days, corporate wellness days, because the people who work in the corporates are the mommies and the daddies. They need to know about the importance of childhood cancer. We want to invite schools to say, invite us to your open days at your churches, at your schools, at the universities. So we all need to stand together to fight childhood cancer in order to save the lives of our children and to make a difference in the lives of the children.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I hope that out of this, you may have more avenues to share this message. And because it's just life-saving, as you say. And if it saves lives of young children and teenagers, then let's do it. Let's open every door that we can. So let's talk about the early warning signs of childhood cancer, Audrey. The CHOC awareness campaign informs the public of Silouan's early warning signs of childhood cancer. Would you just like to go through the steps? And then also, if you could explain what one must do if these signs are detected in a child.
Okay, I'm going to really explain this in 5 minutes. We sometimes do training and presentations from anything from 3 hours to 2 days. So this is going to be very brief, and I hope that after this, people will really have a little insight in the early warning signs of childhood cancer.
They absolutely will. I think they will.
Okay, so the South African Childhood Cancer Study Group developed the Silouan early warning signs of childhood cancer. And why we use this very funny name, Silouan, is because one of the doctors that was on the group who developed or unpacked the early warning signs was Dr. Stellis Pouiadis, who is a Greek by birth. And he said, let's use this word as a memory aid to describe the early warning signs of childhood cancer. So what are these signs? S. So Silouan is S-I-L-U-A-N. So S stands for seek. It sounds so simple, but it is so valuable. So we say, seek medical help for persistent symptoms. In other words, my child has a symptom. I go to the clinic gives medication, the child goes home, that symptom do not go away. Then we say, please go back to the same clinic. So, and if for example, the symptom go away after the treatment, but come back, then we say, go back to the same clinic. We say to the doctors, we've got a prof who always say, when a child comes with a sore throat, you must examine the tummy So what we say is the doctors must have a high index of suspicion. And then they must we encourage parents to ask questions and to raise their concerns about their child's illness. But then we say to the doctors, please listen to the mothers. Mothers know their children. So seek is for seek. I is for a white spot in the eye, a new squint, a new blindness, or a bulging eye. So when I look in the light, you can see there's a light on my eye. That is a natural light. But when we have a white spot that engulfs the iris or the pupil of the eye, it looks very much like a cataract that the older people have on the eyes. That is definitely, it can be a cancer of the eye. It is definitely, they must investigate that. We talk of, remember, it's a new squint. In other words, if the child is born with squint, that is not what we talk about. We talk about a new squint. Then we talk about the red reflex in the eye. When the doctors look into the eye, both eyes must be red. That is a healthy eye. If the pupil of the one eye is, for example, black or white, that is not normal, and that indicates that there can be a tumor behind the eye. We don't want to get to the stage where our children have bulging tumors. It is painful. They have terrible pain, and it is very, very bad for the children. We don't want to get to that stage. One of the very, very few, because childhood cancer is not inherited, but the one childhood cancer that can impact the new child that is born is a retinoblastoma. That is the cancer of the eye. So we say mommy has been diagnosed with retinoblastoma as a child, and now she gives birth to another child when she's a mommy. We say those children need to go to the hospital the first 3 years of their life on a very regular basis. So it's S for seek, I for eye, and L is for lump. Now we know that every lump needs to be referred. It can be in the abdomen, it can be in the pelvis, it can be in the neck, the limbs, the testes, and the glands. And a TB lump should go away after 6 weeks. If not, you need to seek medical help. Cancerous cells are usually hard and they grow. When a lump is localized, in other words, if it is in a specific place in the body, if it's persistent, in other words, it is treated but it doesn't go away, and if it's unexplained, for example, it is not specific to TB, AIDS, mumps, infection, or whatever, it needs to be investigated and you need to seek help. So it's S for seek, I for eye, L for lump, and then we look at U, which is unexplained. So this is the things that you cannot point your finger to. It's a prolonged fever for 2 weeks or more. It's loss of appetite. There's pallor, there's fatigue, there's easy bruising and bleeding. So those things that you cannot explain. This child just don't want to eat anymore. They get bruises. They don't feel well. You must always eliminate trauma. For example, we always say if a child runs on a flat surface and all of a sudden they break a leg or they break a bone, the child will very often say it's because of the fall that the cancer started. We say no, it's because of the cancer that the bone break. So, and then of course we need to eliminate things like, did the child had a trauma? Did something happen? The teachers in the school would say, for example, if the child are very bruised, oh, there's problems at the house. the house will say, but there's problems at the school. So we need to eliminate all the possibilities of trauma, psychosocial problems, and then look at what is really needed to know. So we've got S for seek, I for L for lump, and now we're looking at aching. Aching bones, that has got to do everything to do with the bones, the joints, easy fractures. When children have growing pains in the adolescence, when there's growth spurts or whatever, the children, mommy will come and mommy will give love, mommy will put rub on, give Panado, the pain will go away. A cancer pain do not go away, it's consistent. And then we need to, we definitely need to look and take the child to the doctor. We have to look at trauma. Was there injury at school? Is the child carrying a suitcase that's too heavy? So we eliminate the initial problems, and then we look for the what is really the cause of the trauma. And the last sign is the neurological. So we've got Siloam, we've got seek, we've got the eye, we've got lump, we've got aching, we've got unexplained, and now we're looking at neurological. Neurological has to do with the change or deterioration in walk, balance, or speech. A child, for example, will start to speak in a slurred speech, like somebody who had a stroke. They would start to walk into things. And many times, this is where the community will say the child is bewitched. The child is not bewitched. The child might have a neurological sign that might indicate a brain tumor. So we look at regression of milestones. Everybody who had babies will know there's certain milestones that the baby need to reach. For example, they lie, they sit, they crawl, they walk. So all of a sudden, this baby could walk. Now they can't walk anymore. We talk of the regression of the milestones. The baby could sit, now they can't sit anymore. So that is definitely a sign that we need to look at. We look at headaches for more than 2 weeks with or without a projectile vomiting. What happens to the projectile vomiting is the pressure that builds up in the brain. So the child, when the child's not nauseous, there was nothing wrong with mommy's food, but when they get up, they just do this projectile vomiting. In babies, it is different because the sacral lines are not yet, they didn't bind yet. So there's space for the tumor to grow. But once the sacral lines are fixed, that is where the pressure built up. And the only way how this child can get rid of the pressure is by the projectile vomiting. So we talk about the change or deterioration in walk, balance, and speech, the regression of milestones, and then the headaches for more than a week with or without the projectile vomiting. These are very easy signs to identify. There can be differential signs. For example, a lump can be infection, but it can be a Burkitt's lymphoma. So we always need to eliminate. A headache can be a sinusitis, but it can be a brain tumor. And that is where we always need to see, is it persistent? Is it new? And does it go away after treatment or not? So what do we need to do if we suspect that a child then has these early warning signs of childhood cancer? So there's a few things that you can do. You can either go to your clinic or your doctor or your pediatrician. And remember what we said is go back to the same doctor or the same clinic for a persistent symptom, because the doctors where the child was first diagnosed know the medical history of the child. So, or you can call the CHOC helpline 0800 333 555 during office hours. And that is at the Baragwanath Hospital. The medical team that are there will listen to what the mommy or the doctor is saying, and they will then get a doctor and there will be a referral. We also have a CHOC on our CHOC website at www.choc.org.za. We have a refer a child button. So if you suspect that the child may have cancer, you can go onto our website, click on the refer the button. It will come to my table and we will then look into the case and we will contact and refer the child as soon as possible. Please don't wait if you detect a sign, because early detection saves the lives of children.
That's it. Early detection saves lives. Audrey, thank you very much for that, and I really appreciate your input. I'm sure you've saved a few lives here tonight just by saying what
We
you did.
hope so.
I hope so, and I really feel that everything you said, it's going to save some life out there tonight. Thank you very much. So
Yeah.
Lynette, I'm coming back to you, and the last part of the interview is based on the World Health Organization's global initiative for childhood cancer, which was done in 2018, and it was aimed at reaching a survival rate of 60% internationally. So, should this phenomenal figure be achieved, 1 million lives will be saved globally. In South Africa, the survival rate is around 55%. You've both mentioned that earlier, and increasing. So, how do these figures impact CHOC programs, which provide support to families of young children and teenagers diagnosed with cancer? Also, what happens if there is an increase in new diagnosis of childhood cancer?
Michelle, let me firstly say that the South African Children's Tumor Registry, and I think Andre also alluded to it, it reports that there are nationally 1,000 new cases of children under the age of 16 being diagnosed with cancer in South Africa. And this has been an increase since 10 years ago. If the survival rate in South Africa, if we had to achieve that phenomenal percentage of 60%, as the World Health Organization's global initiative aims to do, CHOC will still increase, not increase, but continue with its important services that it renders to its current beneficiaries. The difference, though, means that we will have much more survivors that will successfully integrate back into society. And therefore, as CHOC's already providing support to survivors and long-term survivors, our structured survivors programs will have to continue and continue and continue, but with a good objective. Because it means then that there will be a greater percentage of survivors and less pressure on the POU units, because currently our pediatric oncology units are under immense pressure. And there will also be many success stories to share with other parents who are brand new on the journey. And also it has shown that where there are more comprehensive support services, that this contributes to the survival rate increasing. So that's a very good story for South Africa if we had to achieve that 60% survival rate as the World Health Organization's global initiative has aimed at. And your question in terms of what happens if there's an increase in new diagnosis of childhood cancer, that would result in the pediatric oncology wards, as I said earlier, having more patients, more specialist doctors would be needed, and obviously more comprehensive support would be needed for the families whose children are faced with this disease. Even in CHOC's case, in some instances, even our bed capacity would have to increase once there are new diagnoses of children. And once this all happens, more funds are needed and more resources are needed. So our aim is actually that the survival rate would increase. And we can already see in South Africa, as Audrey's been saying, that the survival rate in South Africa is steadily increasing. And this is very good news for us in South Africa. Really, really good news.
Yeah, if I can come in here, when you have early detection, that will actually lead to less disabilities, and it will lead
Yes.
to higher survival rate. So your survivors with less disabilities will become the socioeconomic independent contributing citizens, which will then add value again. And our survivors will become the new generation of
Leaders.
contributing and the leaders to the organization. For example, if we get children who can do community hours in the schools, they will know about childhood cancer. They are the future of South Africa, the leaders, the people that will work in corporates, that will take the message of early survival forward. So it's a whole
Yes.
circle.
Paying it forward. Yeah.
Pay it forward.
Yes, yes, yes. And our long-term survivors programs are so important because that program is what enables our survivors, as Audrey said, to become part of the economy, to contribute towards the economy, to become the leaders of the society as we all want them to be. And yeah, yeah.
So, wow, ladies, this is just so impressive, everything you've said. And it's a lot, as Audrey says, you take weeks and months to have, or maybe just, a proper program over it. And here we're compressing all this information, but I think it's vital, even in a limited time like this, I think it's vital. And some of the information that's gone out here, as we say, it very well could save a life or many lives. So, what message? Because the donors play an important part on this journey. Without the donor, a lot of this is not possible. So, what message do both of you have for your donors who are listening tonight?
For me, my passion is the early detection.
Mm.
Early detection save lives. And if we can get the message out to our corporates, to our schools, to our government, to the whole community, because everybody plays a part. Because if people know, they will contribute. And if people know that early detection save lives, they will see the value of that in, as I said before, creating, contributing survivors without disabilities that can really make a difference and give hope to those newly diagnosed patients, because that is what they are. That is what they do. They give hope. And so for me, it's a whole circle where everybody is intertwined and everybody is contributing and making a difference in the hope of our future.
Marvelous. Thank you. And Lynette?
Yeah, for me, our children, as Audrey also said, our children are the future of tomorrow. And unfortunately, we have lost so many lives. And therefore, I agree with Audrey that early detection saves lives. And my challenge is to corporates out there to partner with CHOC and to invest in the work that CHOC does so that so many more kids' lives can be saved. And so that so many more children can live normal lives, be integrated into society, and become contributors towards our economy. And it all starts with that early warning signs and that early detection programs.
Ladies, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. That was such an insightful uh, a moment with you two, and just hearing everything you had to say. I mean, for myself, I've learned more, even though I'm on this journey with CHOC in Cape Town, and every day I'm learning new things with Gigi and Lynette. But tonight has been a whole different learning experience for me. There's so much more information that one needs to know on this journey. It's just remarkable how well informed you all are and how you are changing the world, especially with early detection of childhood cancer, and how you are saving lives. You are saving lives as well. So thank you for that. So I have to say this at the end of our show tonight. I have only love and respect for the kindness and compassion that I have experienced in my association with CHOC. And tonight, you both brought that to the show. Our ethos at the People of Purpose talk show is compassion and kindness to heal the world. And today, I have experienced that firsthand from both of you with all that you have shared. And just one other thing. And your mission statement says, um, keeping more than hope alive. Keeping more than hope alive. That's your mission statement. And our mission statement is compassion and kindness to heal the world. So I think tonight there has been some kind of merging, you know. And I just want to say thank you, and thank you both for making the time with load shedding. I think we're very tenacious South Africans to do this. We made it here, and we had this very important show tonight. Very, very important show. And I want to say a personal thank you to you both. And God bless you. And also, God bless our viewers who are watching this show from wherever. God bless you all, and support CHOC. Just support CHOC. Go on the website, make contact the various offices around the country, and just give them your support. So thank you very much, ladies. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.